Good evening. Welcome to the September 2nd meeting of the East Point City Council. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Shropshire. Present. Councilmember Freely. Present. Councilmember Atkins.
Present.
Councilmember Ziegler.
Present.
Councilmember Cummings. Present. Councilmember Mitchell.
Present.
Councilmember Butler. Okay. Then Councilmember Martin Rogers. Present. Mayor Holiday Ingram, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Tonight we will stand for a moment of silence followed by the pledge to the flag. Please stand and remain standing. Our Sergeant at Arms this evening is Captain Robinson. Can we get a motion to adopt the agenda that's flip-flopped?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is approval of the City Council minutes from the August 18th regular meeting of City Council. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman
I make a
Shropshire.
motion that we adopt the City Council regular meeting from August the 18th.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. We have no public hearings tonight. Do we have any public comments, Madam City Clerk?
No public comments.
No public comments. Moving to comments from council. Councilmember Martin Rogers.
Yes, I just wanted to remind residents of Ward D of our upcoming community gathering, which will be slated for September 27th. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also would like to remind the public that on September 4th, we're having a town hall meeting talking about the frequent power outages here at City Hall. That is September 4th, which is Thursday at 6 p.m. here at City Hall regarding the frequent power outages. Thank you.
Councilmember Atkins.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just would like for everyone to be reminded that September is Fall Prevention Month, and I have partnered with a local East Point charity, Melba's Heart, to help host a fall prevention workshop on next Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bowden Center, and this is an event for seniors and their caregivers. Seating is limited. We do ask that if you would like to participate, to please call 404-246-9721 to register. This also will include lunch, and for those of you who are familiar with the Bowden Center, Wednesdays is Fried Chicken Wednesday, so it's a very popular day at the Bowden Center. So we will cover the lunch for all of the attendees for the Fall Prevention Workshop. Again, I'm partnering with Melba's Heart and other partners to stand up this particular workshop for fall prevention. I'd also like for the residents of East Point to know that I've got a few calls from residents regarding the closing of Chick-fil-A on Cleveland Avenue. While that is partially correct, the Chick-fil-A will be closed starting September 25th. For major repairs. That facility was built in 1996 when Cynthia Inman was the first operator there and has never had any substantial upgrades. It is now functionally obsolete, so they will be closed for about 3.5 months for major repairs to their kitchen, their drive-through, indoor dining, and all of those things. They will reopen January 13th and working currently with the new owner-operator, Alfonso Richard, for a community day as a part of their opening. So just wanted to make those announcements. Thank you.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to just thank everyone that showed up for the Ward C community meeting. I'd like to also thank Pastor Mobley and the congregation over at Victory Baptist Church for allowing us to use that space for the meeting. We had over 100 residents that did attend that meeting, and also just like to thank the divisions of labor that showed up and spoke with residents and addressed any concerns that they had. That was police, fire, Parks and Rec, our Power Department, Water and Sewer and Public Works, and our city manager came out as well, and our deputy city manager. So again, thank everyone for coming out to the Ward C community meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else? This Saturday here at City Hall, we will host the 45th Sickle Cell Road Race Walk with the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia. I believe this is our 10th year hosting the walk and partnering with Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia. The race will be this Saturday, September the 6th. You can register on site at 7:45. There's also online registration. Race formation will start at 8:45, race formation and lineup, and then the race starts at 9 a.m. Again, that's this Saturday, September the 6th, East Point City Hall, 2757 East Point Street. Definitely walk with a purpose to support an organization, Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia, that is definitely making an impact on our communities and throughout the state of Georgia. So join us again this Saturday, September the 6th. Registration is at 7:45 a.m. on site, race formation and lineup at 8:45 a.m., and then the race starts at 9 a.m. No other comments from council. First presentation is customer service notification. This should have been customer service communications update. We had a number of people that received a number of different types of communications as we were switching over to a new system. When we talked about this at the last meeting, we were informed that there was some communication that was going to be going out to the residents and that their updates would be provided, so it's on tonight for that. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have Interim Finance Director Golden and Ms. Adams with the Customer Care to give us a presentation on this matter.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Madam Mayor. Good evening. The update is the letter went out to the public on August the 28th, and the emails went out to the customers in Cycle 1 on today, September the 2nd. So as of now, everything that was asked of us has been done and completed.
So when you say a letter went out on August 28th, who did the letter go to? What was in the letter? What did it communicate and share? How was it sent?
It was placed on the city's website and the customer care webpage.
Oh, so it didn't go out, it was posted.
It was posted, yes, ma'am.
And
The emails went out today to each of those customers in Cycle 1. So they did receive an email with the letter stating what actually happened and an apology for that error.
And what about people in Cycle 1 who might not use emails? Is this going out in the utility bill?
No, it actually went directly to the customer's email that we have on file.
Correct. So I'm saying, what about customers who don't have email or don't check email that are in Cycle 1?
So from our understanding with BSNA, the customers that received the email, the initial email for the shut-off notices were the only customers that were impacted. We didn't mail out any of those utility bill reminders to the customers.
You didn't mail out any shut-off notices?
Not for Cycle 1. We did not mail out those erroneous letters to the customers. Only the email customers were impacted.
And what about the other cycles?
The other cycles were not impacted.
Okay, and about how many residents are in Cycle 1?
590.
That's 590 accounts or households?
Yes.
Okay. Did we identify any other issues with the migration of BSNA?
There are other issues that we encounter pretty much every day. Typically, for example, with the e-notifications, BSNA typically had to create that program for us to identify the emails for those customers. It was something that took time, a couple of hours to figure out who those customers were. So there's a couple of other issues with BSNA. I know they said that there were no changes made, but as we go throughout the system, we realize that a lot of changes were made in the system, and we're finding it out pretty much after BSNA has left, after, we go through the daily processes.
So what other issues were identified and how do they impact residents?
Typically, for now, I can honestly say they're not impacting the residents. It's our daily processes within a department. Some reports we can run, some reports we cannot run, some reports are delayed, some reports time out. So in terms of that, that's what I'm really speaking about, internal processes.
The other council members light on now, so I'll go to Councilmember Atkins and then Councilmember Cummings.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
In terms of the issues that you are identifying, I guess, day by day, you're saying that it's not impacting the customer, but operationally, what kind of drag is that imposing operationally, and has BSNA committed to making sure that those kinks are worked out? Because I know that we migrated to the cloud for better service, more efficient service, and so do you see that on the horizon?
It's a yes and no, because we're typically going through our daily processes every day, and as we encounter it, we typically place tickets with BSNA to help us figure out what will work best for the department with our processes, because as they stated, nothing has changed, we just moved to the cloud, but honestly, as the team go through these processes, there is a change. Even if it's a slight change, there is a change in the system. So we were told that there was no changes, but there really are changes.
And do you feel comfortable or confident that those changes, those issues, those kinks will be worked out so that it's not putting a drag on your department operationally, and that you'll get to a level where there is more efficiency than we had before when we were not using the cloud and it was server-based?
And I apologize for not going directly into the question, but yes, because we're communicating with them daily. And what we're asking for is pretty much instructions on how to do it. But then we're also asking them for different reportings that would allow us to not encounter those different errors. So with us communicating with them on a daily basis, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So you said roughly it was just going to be that cycle one bill, and it was about 590 customers?
Yes.
Okay, and other than that, we won't have those same issues with the other cycles 2 through the rest of the cycles. Everything will be fine, correct?
Everything that we've processed after this has been tested. Everything, as far as the utility bill reminders, we have not had any issues after this first time of sending out those erroneous emails.
Okay, and just to be clear, the issues that you're having, they're more or less they're internal issues, and not something that goes out to the customers, correct?
Internal.
And so when we did the migration to BSN, when we did the migration,
Yes.
did we have like on-site representatives or something that could, because I know you guys said you were in constant contact with them, but did we have someone here to kind of, when these, once we went live with the new migration, to kind of help run us through the stuff, or just kind of help to work out the kinks?
Yes, we did. We did have someone that, we had 2 representatives that were there.
Okay.
So typically what happened is, because customer care ranges from the front line with taking the payments, the call center, the billing department, typically they had to move within a department to make sure those processes were ready to go after we went live.
Okay. And we do still have the technical support that's still on board. Now, just because we did encounter this, and like you said, we don't know just kind of what else may or may not come up, I think it would be just a suggestion to kind of maybe put something in the statements that go out and that we email all of our customers for all cycles, just to let them know that we are migrating to this new system. If they do see some variances in their bills or there's some issues, before, they kind of get like in that panic about it, that we, just advise them to just call in the customer service. Because, there may be some things that may happen externally, and we don't know, because right now we're just the assumption is that it's just all internal, but if it is, then they can, give us a call and we can kind of figure out, work through those kinks, because these are some other issues, potential issues that may come up.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that you responded by email with the letter to everyone that was impacted. I've seen the letter on the website, and just from a communications perspective, it's just literally a PDF of the letter. There's no header, there's no sort of explanation of why it's on the website. So I think it might be useful for people if there's some context as to what they're looking at when they see it on the website. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So let me ask you, so it was only cycle 1 that was affected?
Yes, ma'am.
And no one else should be getting letters in the mail? Because I got a call today from someone who got a letter in the mail, and I told them that the system had upgraded to the BNSA system, and it was a glitch, and that's why they got a letter. So I think it might be more, and I'll give you the person's name.
Okay.
Because it might be more than just cycle 1. I don't know what cycle they're on, but I can give you their name. So you might want to look into that as well to see if it went further, because people, based on the call, they got a letter. And my question is, when BSNA was doing the upgrade, did they send someone out to go over the process of what it would look like, what to expect? Was there any training from BSNA?
Yes, ma'am. They had an implementation team. Customer care had their own implementation team. Finance had its own. Different departments had their own implementation team. And then the teams collaborated with customer care. They also brought out a VP of customer service as well to make sure things were to go smoothly.
Okay, so are they still available here, knowing that there are problems and there are glitches?
The support team with BSNA pretty much handles anything after the implementation team comes through.
So they are working with the city to work through the kinks that's in the system?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Shropshire, I just have one statement. The utility bill reminders go out 10 days before the bill is due. So once you give me the information, I can look into it for that particular
It wasn't
customer?
a reminder.
It wasn't? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay,
Okay, all right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How you doing, Ms. Adams?
How are you?
I have a question regarding some legislation the council passed when Fred Gartner was here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's regarding Mr. King. So Mr. King was 95 years old at the time, and he paid, instead of $124, he paid $12, and we cut off his utilities. And so at that time, we made a vote that people above a certain age, and if you had a stellar payment record, that we would not automatically turn off your power, that we would notify you before we did that. Are we effectively executing that legislation the council passed?
We're contacting the senior customers to advise that they may have missed a bill or their account is delinquent. So we try to contact them to say, hey, if you come on in, you can go ahead and make your payment to avoid your services being disconnected. There are some of our senior customers that we really don't have contact, but
Will
we
you
work.
speak it to your mic for us, Ms. Adams?
Some of the senior customers, because their accounts are very, very old, we don't have good contact information. So what we're trying to do is get with DEI to do a site visit, just to check on that senior to see if everything's okay, and, just to make contact to make sure that we're not cutting their services off and something is going on in the home.
What about those customers who have a stellar payment record and for some reason there may have been an error? Do you have the data in terms of how long you should have had a good payment history, and before you cut someone off in particular. I don't remember exactly what period we discussed. I don't know if you had paid on time for 10 years or what that was, but I know that Mr. Gardner added that language to the bill that we kind of passed, the bill that we passed. So the way it worked is, if you're above a certain age, I don't know what that age is,
Okay.
but it all came about from Mr. King's power bill. Could you look into that for us too? Because if you've been here for 5 years or 10 years and you've never missed a payment and something happens, then we voted that bill would not automatically be turned off. And that
Okay.
if you're a certain age, I don't know what that senior citizen age limit is, that you will notify these seniors before they turn off, because Mr. King had been paying on time for 40, 50 years, and he missed a decimal point and we turned him off. So I
Okay.
just want to make sure that we are implementing that work we put in.
I'll look into it, try to find the minutes on it so that we can determine. If you have more information on Mr. King's name, I can look at his account on tomorrow.
Well, Mr. King is, we took care of that.
Got
But
it.
that was the spirit of the legislation was because of what happened to him. So this happened maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
No, he's not alive anymore.
Okay, I'll
I
look
think he
into
was
it.
95 at the time. He's 90, he was 99
Okay,
this year when he passed, so,
I'll look into it.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bless you.
Yes, Ms. Adams, I just want to piggyback on the scenario that Councilmember Butler just mentioned. In terms of our cutoff policies, are we following best practices? Because we are a part of MEAG, we're not, I guess, regulated by the Public Service Commission. And so I had a very similar situation. It was a young lady, I think her bill was like, let's say $372, and she inadvertently paid $327 and also had cut off. And so I know that we're very quick to cut off, and so I think in order to get back on, I think our policy is that you show up in person with cash, is that correct?
To reestablish your services, you can actually complete that form online, which is called a reestablishment form. Excuse me, and you can make your payment online. You don't necessarily have to come into the office unless you're cash only.
Okay, and which customers are cash only?
When they actually have 2 return items, 2 return checks in a system for a period of 12 months.
Okay. And our cutoff policy is how many days after due date, or?
It's 8 days going into the 9th date. The 9th date is the day the services will be disconnected for non-pay.
And if someone inadvertently makes an incorrect payment, just as both Councilman Butler and I described, what is the policy? Do you make an attempt to reach out to say, hey, it looks like you didn't pay quite enough, or do we just shut off?
We pretty much don't just shut off the customers. You know, we have a team that actually review each of those individual accounts before we shut off. So it's a process where we run the cut list, we run the delinquent list every morning, and then we go through that list, we check the customer's accounts, and we review it before we actually make the decision to put them on the cut list to turn their services off. We have a pretty much strenuous process to look at each account to make sure, one, there's notes on the account to say, hey, something's going on with this account, or this customer's on a payment plan, the customer's on an active hold. So we go through that process before we make the final list to disconnect the services.
Okay. And how often does the department update or review those policies, or even engage with the citizens? We've got, I know that I mentioned this, probably not since you've been standing there at the podium, but always our boards, authorities, and commissions. And so, Mr. City Manager, with East Point having a utility advisory commission, do you take those opportunities to talk about those policies or best practices or some of the challenges that our end users and ratepayers are experiencing, and how we can better those processes? Do you ever, does your department ever do any of those things?
I don't remember utility board,
So when have they had a utility commission?
not in a long time. So I don't think that, yeah. I'm sorry, we were just discussing, so the utility commission board or?
Yes, the City of East Point has an East Point Utility Advisory Commission, and Mr. City Manager, do you know, I think that there's probably enough citizens to populate that board for it to meet when that board would be meeting again, or start meeting?
Yes, Councilman, I am not sure if they reached the number of having enough to actually meet, or if they do, if there has been an initial meeting once it's been started up. So I'm pretty sure staff may not have had the opportunity to meet since previously that board had went inactive for quite some time. So I'll double check to see where exactly those placements are, and if we have enough to actually assign a staff person to liaison with that organization, that commission, and to get an initial meeting set up to establish what will be the goals and topics that commission would like to take on initially.
Okay. Could we, since you've mentioned that, could you also do that for the other boards, authorities, and commissions? I know that we're in the process of trying to get a multiplex built in Ward D, and so the city also has a Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, and so input from citizens around that. So would you be able to also provide an update on the other boards, authorities, and commissions and where they are and when the city will get those reactivated so that they can be a part of the civic process?
Certainly, and I can also share that there's active work being done to have a summit. I believe it's been scheduled in the month of October to bring all those boards together into one meeting. So that activity in many ways are happening now. Certainly will talk with staff to see if any of those can function, or at least have some initial meetings before that summit.
Okay. Can we have an update at the work session? Is that too soon for next week, Monday? This is a short week, so I don't want to put additional pressure or stress. Would there be enough time to just provide an update to the council on where those bodies are in terms of population and the other details about the October meeting for all of the boards, authorities, and commissions?
I can certainly look into it. I am mindful that we have a lot scheduled for our September meeting, but I certainly will look into that. If I have a briefing that I can give, I will.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Councilmember Martin Rogers.
Thank you. And while you're looking into that particular board and commission, can you also add the Public Art Commission to that list as well, Mr. Jones, and give us feedback on that? Thank you.
Councilmember Butler, are you suggesting we pass the ordinance saying that seniors wouldn't be cut off?
Yes, ma'am, we did. I'll ask for the city clerk to find the details, but if you can help me remember, I know we talked about if you made certain payment, if you made on-time payments for a certain amount of time, and if you're above a certain age,
Yeah, I recall the discussion. I don't recall whether or not there's an ordinance. There's not one online. I've looked at those recently, so it could be one that it was passed and not codified in Muni Code. It needs to be. It would be great to figure out what meeting that was when it was discussed to see what the discussion was. I'm not sure if there was actual formal action by council or a discussion from the city manager at that time as to what he would do. But finding that either the clerk, legal, well, our city attorney wasn't here at the time, but looking through the minutes of the meetings and then finding the video to confirm what happened during that meeting as to whether or not it was an ordinance, resolution, or policy passed, is my understanding. Like, you don't have it in writing right now, so I'm trying to figure out if it exists, where it exists.
Okay.
All right, no further discussion on this item, I think sending communication out in the bill, like, if we can be proactive, that would be great. Right now, we're responding to stuff that happened. Additional things may happen. We don't know what they are, but just letting people know in the event that something occurs, as well as the letter online refers to the city's management system. It says, during the recent upgrade of the city's management system, is that what it's called? Is it information management or utilities management?
It's utilities management.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know if this is what's included in the bill. Let's, it would be helpful, I think, to try to have some level of proactive communication about letting people know that we migrated over, there was a change. We've experienced some challenges that we're working through. There may be others. We'll notify you if you're directly impacted. Something along those lines would kind of help us be as proactive as we can with implementing a new system.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is facade grant update. I asked for this to be placed on the agenda because Friday and Saturday I've been getting emails with all of these contracts to sign for businesses, and no information has been shared with council as to who was awarded the grant and what ward, what amounts. These contracts range from different amounts. They didn't have a routing sheet, so I wasn't even aware whether or not legal had reviewed it, and any other challenges. So I think it's important that an update be provided to council so that we're clear and it's on the record who received what in what ward, how much, and how, and as well as making sure that council is aware of these various amounts that I'm not sure if, I think some may have gone over 25,000. I think I've seen several for 20. They're different amounts, but it's like at least 8 to 10 that I've received, and so I didn't feel comfortable with that without having an update being provided to council. So, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mayor, we'll have our economic development staff as well as Ms. Cheney, who works in the city manager's office, walk us through this item.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Maceo Rogers, Director for the Department of Economic Development, joined by Aaron Rogers, Economic Development Specialist, Economic Development, and as City Manager mentioned, Jasmine Cheney, Management Analyst with the City Manager's Office. So we've been working diligently in terms of getting this information out with respect to sharing initially communications with those awardees, just notifying them that they were recipients or awardees of grant funding. Since that time, we have been working on getting the contracts themselves written up with the specified and exact amount of funding, with the understanding that, again, the city will reimburse up to 75% of the grant amount with an in-kind or matching 25% of that total amount of funding. We sent information to City Council regarding the list of awardees, but we've not sent any update information to that, just based on the fact that the contracts hadn't been, first of all, signed by the recipient, and of course it hadn't been signed by the city, because some of the recipients were surprised at the level of funding, and we wanted to make sure that before we got too far along, that they were in agreement of the amount of funding, particularly if it didn't match what they submitted on their application. And so as a result, we have gotten some feedback from some of the awardees stating, well, you know, I can't complete my intended project on this amount of funding, you know, given the fact that we had $600,000 to work with from the start. We knew that the amount of applicants we received during the time frame, that not everyone could be awarded the total amount or maximum amount that they were requesting. So that being the case, we wanted to make sure that they were in agreement with the amount that was being awarded to them. And then from that point, once they sign, we would get that signed from the city's vantage point, send that contract back to them. And then, of course, from that point, they would be on their way in terms of actually getting the work done. We, at this point, have 4 awardees that exceeded the $25,000 threshold. Everyone else received less than that at varying levels based on, again, the amount of funding. The council, of course, approved $180,000 for downtown, $105,000 for each ward, A, B, C, and D. And Ward D was the one ward that we had some funding remaining. And of course, I had a conversation with the city manager as to how we wanted to approach that in terms of the amount of funds that were remaining for that particular ward. And we both agreed that it would likely be better to connect with both council members of Ward D, Councilmember Rogers and Butler, to get their feedback on how they thought it would be best to disseminate or distribute that funding or award that remaining funding. And if that was agreement or agreed upon by them, then we would move forward with their blessings. And so that actually involved the shops at Washington Road in Ward D, which I think the general feeling is that that is the shopping center throughout the city that triggered the facade grant initiative. And there was one tenant at that site location that was awarded grant funding. And the owner, however, of the shops at Washington Road did not feel comfortable applying, even though we certainly reached out to as many folk as we could, encouraging them to apply. And of course, that was definitely one of the locations that we wanted them to apply for grant funding, but they didn't. However, upon finding that that tenant, one of the tenants had been awarded, it would have really stood out as a sore spot in some point, from some vantage point, if that was the only place that had this beautification, refreshed look about it, and the rest of the shopping center was left untouched. And so they did, in fact, respond. They were very excited about the opportunity, and so the feeling was to look at that project and that overall shopping center and award the funding to that particular recipient upon the application itself. And I will stop right there and to take some questions. I know, Mary, you had one of your questions, I believe, was the amount for the some of the awards that we awarded. So I will ask. Yes, please.
So it was mentioned of a $25,000 threshold. The actual threshold for the program was $70,000, with the 75% contribution from the city, which would be $52,500, and the remaining $17,500 would have been the 25% match of the actual applicant if they received the full $70,000 awarded. So we actually have 4 recipients that were awarded over $25,000 per the mayor's request that it be brought for a council meeting for any contract agreements that were over $25,000. From Ward D, we had 3 applications that we actually received. And the scoring actually for one of the applications was, it didn't warrant them being awarded the actual grant amount. So there was 2 applicants that were awarded. One of those applicants was awarded $42,000, and then there was that remaining funding in Ward D for $57,946.99, which that's when the plaza at Washington Road, the shops at Washington Road, was brought up as a potential recipient to receive that remaining amount. And then for Ward C, we received 5 applications that actually scored below what was the evaluation criteria of the evaluation committee. And those 3 applicants, out of those 5, only 2 applicants were awarded, and they were awarded the full amount, which was $70,000. So we have 2 recipients from Ward C that are being awarded over $25,000, and we also have from Ward D, the shops at Washington, and then another recipient that's receiving over $25,000. So just to clarify on that portion.
I do want to also mention, I believe you guys should have received a spreadsheet as well. Because I think sorry. I believe you guys received a spreadsheet as well that outlined each of the awards with the different award amounts prior to the lists and everything going out to the awardees. So it should be in there as far as how it's broken down between each of them in here.
I'll go to council members and come back at the end. Councilmember Atkins.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Rogers, you talked about this is your, I don't think it's the only time that you've come back to give the council an update. I think we may have had one other update, is that correct, to the council members on the facade grant?
Well, yes, I mean, since the facade grant initiative has been going on, there have been several updates going back to September, a combination of presentations as well as updates,
So I may have missed a few of those updates. I know that we were requesting some updates, and I think it said that the update that I recall was that it wasn't quite finished or it wasn't quite ready. So that was the update. My question is, these meetings, the public meetings around the facade grant, they started in January of this year, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And so your communication with the applicants, how has that been going since the facade grant kicked off in January?
I would say it's been going great. We've been very responsive to the questions that we've gotten, both emails, whether it's text, phone calls, and even in-person meetings.
Even after the decision was made by the selection committee in terms of who would be awarded the communication? And the reason I asked the question is because I received several phone calls from businesses who applied, and they were asking me what was the update, what was the status, and they said that they had heard nothing. And so what kind of communication was going out to those businesses who applied but were not selected by the selection committee? Was there a letter that went out to say that they were not selected?
Yes, sir. We had 2 waves. Our first wave went out to those applicants who were awarded, and the second wave went out to those who were not awarded. And with that second wave, that was basically the gist of what we did, unless, of course, they followed up with additional questions about their application status.
Okay, thank you for that. And so on the 30th of January, there was a meeting at the City Hall Annex. And I had a question about the scenario that you brought up. If a business applied for the grant and they made an application for X amount of dollars, but the selection committee thought that their application met the threshold, but did not have or didn't think that it would award them the full amount that they requested. At that time, my question to you was, what if they're not able to complete the project? What would happen then? Because if they're not able to bring the 25% to the table, what happens to those dollars?
So essentially, if they were not awarded the amount that they requested, the question that we have for them is, can they do any portion of that? In other words, can they or are they willing or would be willing to scale back their project based on the amount of funding that we had allocated for them, awarded to them? And many that we've been in contact with certainly has stated that yes, they can scale their project back with plans in the future perhaps of actually getting done what they wanted done from the very start. But with our process and trying to cover as many awardees as we could based on the total amount of funding that we had to work with, we awarded as much as we could with the hopes that they would be able to utilize that funding.
Okay. So you mentioned that many of them said that they would be able to do something.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many of the awardees fall into the category of we asked for X amount, but we got less, we're not sure if we could do it? How many are they?
I'm going to let Jasmine.
So out of the applicants that applied in each ward, we did do the evaluation committee did an assessment based on their scoring criteria, and the funds were allocated on a grading scale. So the breakdown, as far as the numbers, the total I don't have as far as which applications did not receive their full grant amount, but I don't have the exact number for you right now, but I can actually pull that number up for you and provide it at a later time. But just doing a general scan of the actual spreadsheet that I do have for what was received, it definitely varies because the way that the scale was done when the funds were allocated, it wasn't based off of what was actually requested from the applicant. It was done on a scale, so any scores received that were 90 or above received $25,000, so on and so forth. So, I mean, there's really visually, there's not a number that I can give to you as far as to tell you exactly how many did not receive their full amount, but it wasn't, they didn't receive the actual funding based on what was requested. It was done in a scale type of awarding.
Okay.
Just for clarity, were you asking how many people
To the
didn't
microphone,
get
please.
funds?
To the
Sorry.
microphone, please.
Just for clarity, are you asking how many people didn't get what they were doing and they've indicated to us that they can't complete the application process? Is
That was
what
going to
you're-
be that was going to be the second question. The first question is, how many of the applicants requested X amount of dollars but got less than that? And then my question to Mr. Rogers was, how many of them then came back and said, I'm not going to be able to do the project? And his response was, many of them said that they would be able to do something. So I was going to follow up with, what is many? So that's why I was trying to figure out what that universe is of how many didn't receive, and then how many came back and said, I can't do this, and then out of that, how many came back and said, I could do something. And really what I'm trying to get at is impact. We knew that we had very few dollars, right? Mm-hmm. And so if the applicants came and they wanted to do this work to improve their facades, and they're not going to be able to do that work just because of the amount of funding or how the selection committee decided to allocate those dollars, what will be the impact? You know, the thought is that we were trying to improve the aesthetics of businesses around the city. So if they can't do the work that they've applied for, but they can do a small portion of that, do we get the full benefit of the facade grant's intent is really the question.
Councilman, I would just say that we get a true impact, because some funding is better than nothing. And in this case, we are, I think for the awardees, they've gotten a significant degree of funding to do some of those things that they're proposing. Not all, but certainly some of the things that they're proposing on their application will have a significant visual impact.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we are being good stewards of the dollar. So just hearing what you just said, Mr. Rogers, when these projects are complete, we should be able to see a positive impact and an improvement in these businesses in our downtown area and across the city.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. I'll take your word for it. Thank you so much. I'll yield.
Thank you. I remember asking the question, and I still haven't received it. One, who received what businesses received the facade grant? And I see in an email where you said, and I don't know if it's how many people applied, how many people were awarded by awards, but if you can provide that information, who, by award, who received it? And you don't have to, well, I would like to know the amount.
Yes, ma'am, we will get that to you, Councilwoman.
Okay.
We'll send that to them.
And I want to make sure that it was equally distributed in the wards, especially where it's needed. So that's my ask. I remember asking, so that's my ask. Thank you. Oh, and what businesses downtown as well? Thank you.
So I'm looking at the spreadsheet. To the question earlier, how many businesses got less than what they requested in downtown? Are these all of the submissions? Or were there submissions that didn't make the spreadsheet?
Yes, ma'am, there were some that didn't make the spreadsheet.
So it'd be helpful to see all of the submissions by ward because we don't have that.
Sure, we'll get that to you.
In downtown, 12 out of 12 got less than what they requested. In Ward A, 6 out of 8. They sent on July 3rd. 6 out of 8 got less than what they requested. And 1 got more than they requested. So in Ward C, there was only 2. And they both got $70,000 each, the full amount, with the city's 52.5 portion. In Ward D, there's only 2 on here, and 1 got what they requested, the other got more than they requested, and then that's where there was funding left over. So did the Washington Road owner submit an application during the time period?
Yes, that's.
During the application time period? Because you said you couldn't find them.
The business in the plaza of that Washington Road complex was
Correct.
awarded, correct.
But did the owner, because you said you're not doing the whole thing, did the owner
The
submit
owner
an application?
did not. That was the discussion that they had later to determine with the extra pot of funds where it would be most appropriately placed. And the thought process was, again, speak with the representatives from that ward to ensure that they are okay with that, but that the amount would be able to make a cohesive, more aesthetically pleasing plaza versus one little storefront that was awarded in that plaza.
But that application was submitted after the deadline where everybody else had to submit their applications.
Correct.
So that means 12, 18, 8, 18 and 8 is 26, 27 got less than what they requested. And there were 27, 31 total awards, but how many total applications? So if there's 31 on this spreadsheet, how many applications roughly did we receive? Did we receive 50? Did we receive a whole lot? Like, do you all have access to something that you can pull that up right now?
We received 86 applications in total.
So out of 86 applications, we funded 31. 1 application wasn't submitted during the time period where application should have been submitted. And 18, 26, 29 got less than they requested.
Yeah, and that was due to, again, the specific ward that had funds left over didn't have the number of like Ward A, Ward B, and downtown were loaded with applications. And so that process, again, the scoring spreadsheet that you see there were those who scored 80 and above, and then it was distributed evenly in between that bracket. Ward D, there weren't enough to spread, and Ward C, because, again, there weren't many applicants because there aren't as many commercial properties in Ward C, so they got the full amounts in there. So that's why, if you look at it cohesively on the broad end, it does look odd, but if you actually break down the funds as it was allotted per ward and what applicants were received in there, that's why it looks like that.
So Ward C and D only received 2 applications?
Ward D, go
Ward
ahead.
Ward C received 5 applications and Ward D received 3. And out of that scoring, only 2 of the applications in Ward D were scores high enough to warrant the award. And with Ward C, only those 2 applications were high enough to receive the awarding based on that scale.
I was just trying to see if we had the rubrics, but I can ask for that later. Councilmember comment, Councilmember Atkins, and Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So in Ward D, that the laundromat, that's in that plaza? So, and that was the business owner?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we get some sort of documentation, because, I mean, they just have that space. So did we include some sort of documentation or a letter saying that it was okay for them to, that is?
Yes, so a part of the application, they had to have a signature from the property owner saying that they're able to do whatever it is they want to do to the facade.
Okay. And I think the mayor kind of answered some of the other questions just to see how many people actually applied. And I was looking, the rubric that you gave with the point system, how the points were awarded, was that in, I see it. It's one of them that's in there. So I can look at the rubric. Yeah, well, they did on their, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 things. They did a location factor, which gave them 30 points. The demonstration of a need was 25 points. The quality of the proposal was 20 points. The completeness of the information that they submitted was 15 points. And the community and economic impact, that was 10 points. So they kind of, I'll send that to you.
Yeah, no, I see that. I don't see
How they, how each person scored. Okay, all right.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're fine. Anything else,
I just want
Councilmember
to make
Cummings?
sure. Okay, I'm good, thank you. I yield.
Councilmember Atkins.
Yes, I just have a follow-up. So for the Ward D applicant, where it was mentioned that the tenant made application, but the landlord did not, correct? Correct. In the tenant's application, was the authorization from the landlord a part of that tenant's package?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the tenant made application for it, is it that you were looking for perhaps the landlord so that you would have an opportunity to do more improvements across the entire plaza? Is that what you were seeking?
So the reason for the tenant getting approval is that they didn't own the property, and they would not have the rights just to start making improvements, making any kind of changes without authorization. So if it was just their business products that they might sell or services or something like that that they may provide, it would have been a non-issue, but...
Yes, just a second. That's not really my question. So my question is, Mr. Rogers, I understand that the owner then came back and made application outside of the application period, correct?
Correct.
So the question is, what was the impetus for that? Were you trying to get the owner to make an application so that you could have more improvements in the entire, is that what it was? It wasn't that the tenant's application did not include authorization. because you said it did, but you're trying to have the opportunity to do more improvements. Is that what you were seeking?
Yes, sir. We were trying to maximize visual impact at that location.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Shriver.
Thank you. I have a question. I did find the list that you sent out. I'm a little disappointed because from what I see, none of the money went into any neighborhoods to help fix up those neighborhoods. I'm looking at, and I'm gonna give you a good example. I'm looking at Ward A. And first of all, Bayard Street is in Ward B. But for everybody who received the grant money, it's basically downtown. There's nothing in the communities. It's the same for Ward B. And for Ward C, you have that Family Dollar Plaza right there at Hetland and Deloach. They're not even on the list, just like the Wayfield Plaza. So I don't know who came up with the criterias of the scoring, but it's almost like it did a disadvantage to the communities that needed the money to fix it up. So I'm very disappointed.
Just one little clarification. The plaza across from the Wayfield, that one did get awarded. That's the big attic, the one next to the Family Dollar, that plaza over there. Is that the one?
Well, the big attic is moving.
So that
closing.
So that plaza there was one of the awardees for the downtown. Of course, Ward A and Ward B.
No, but see that plaza with the big attic, that's Ward C side.
Yes.
And the big attic is closing because somebody bought some shops up there. But I'm talking about the Wayfield Plaza as well. Unless the list is wrong, I didn't see that on here.
Correct. I don't believe we received an application from them. So that would be the only thing on that. For the Ward A and B, when you're looking at the properties that are downtown, we use the downtown map that the DDA that was approved by council, that outline for the businesses that were in the downtown district separated. But Ward A and B, of course, come out and touch Main Street and different points there downtown. And so some of those fell into that and outside of what we call the downtown district. So anything that was in Ward A or Ward B, but in that downtown district map went into the downtown bucket, everything. And that was posted online so people knew which bucket they were in, and then the other businesses.
But the bucket you have, this particular one on Bayard, that is Ward B, so it should not be on Ward A list.
So we actually did update that list, so that business owner that you're referring to was actually moved to Ward B. So that's reflected in the new awarding scales.
Still a little I'll yield.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Quick question. I'm going to piggyback on Councilman Atkins' question. I kind of had something similar. So when we're dealing with these landlords for these, excuse me, when we're dealing with these landlords, I know they have different tenants on the property for like a strip mall or whatnot. And I was kind of concerned I wasn't sure if a tenant could ask to have their facade redone because, they're renting it, if that makes sense. But when we're working with these owners, can the owners get permission to get the whole, facility done? as much as y'all would pay for, or do you have to go through the individual, I guess, tenants or not, or whatnot?
Okay, so could the owner,
Just give permission to say, hey, just do the whole facade.
oh, yes, so if the owner desires to participate in the facade program by refreshing and updating that whole facility that they own, yes, they could apply and do just that.
But I'm guessing that you just had regular attendants or random tenants come in and say, hey, can you do my storefront?
Well, they had to apply, and they had to get authorization from the owner before applying.
Was the discussion had with the owner, hey, you might as well, do the whole facility? Or?
I'm certain some of that took place. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell you how much and who did it, but I'm certain that it took place.
And would it be on him? I know there's a matching portion that comes with this grant. Would it be on him to match it, or would it be on the individual stores, or how would that work?
The tenant, if the tenant, got the grant, it was the tenant's responsibility. Of course, if the owner got it, the owner would be responsible. And of course, they could partner on that as well, such as the case of the shops at Washington Road, if they so desire.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ziegler.
Yes, thank you. So, so knowing that there was a little mix-up with the different wards, with Ward A and B, and that one of the grantees from Ward A is going to be moved into Ward B like it should, that would mean that the awardees from Ward B are going to have to be kind of massaged a bit, right? Because now, you didn't realize that there were, you had to incorporate that much money. So like in Ward B, which applicants are actually getting awarded if we have to reshuffle, like how much money people are getting?
Go ahead.
So at the time that we actually transferred that property, that business owner over to Ward B, the award letters and awarded amounts have been allocated. So that does create an overage in Ward B. So there actually would need to be a budget amendment for that ward in order to allocate some of, or distribute more funds to make up for that excess.
Okay. And then do we have like a Ward A business that should be awarded money because of the stipulations that we had put on this grant? Is there a business in Ward A that we can try to somehow fund knowing that they were shorted?
We were able to just go down to the next scoring based on who submitted, because there was already applications within that ward to pull from. So actually, I believe what we did is we just increased the awarded amounts for each applicant that had already been awarded.
Okay.
Yeah, to that point, because we had done that 80 and above, so if they had been put in the original bucket, that group of participants would have gotten a different divvy up because of they were the sole ones. So it made sense to correct that and award it as such, as if they had been in the correct bucket at the beginning.
Okay. Okay, and when are we going to make that budget amendment? Is that something that?
Yes, we will.
I'll have the city manager respond.
Yes.
He just turned his light on, and it sounds like this needs to go to work session and need a whole lot of other things because we've never approved the spreadsheet. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
I was just going to say, typically, we make budget amendments twice a year, usually around the halfway point and then also around year end. So those budget amendments would happen around that time.
There's nothing that prevents it from happening prior to that, correct?
There's nothing, there's obviously opportunities to move funds around amongst programs. But then there's usually a correction, if you will, around twice a year when we do the overall budget amendments. And we usually like to do one mid-year to keep everything kind of adjusted, and then at the end of the year, because there's always things that need to be fixed before we close out the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for the presentation. No good deed goes unpunished. These are ARPA funds, correct?
Yes.
So how do we do a budget amendment in that scenario with ARPA funds? Are there remaining ARPA funds somewhere else in the budget, because aren't they expiring?
Usually there's a process of revenue replacement, so we can go through the process to make sure all our reporting is done in a timely manner, and I know we're real close. I'm going to leave the actual dates to the grant manager and the folks managing the ARPA dollars, but usually in those really close moments, we can use revenue replacement, which basically where the monies are available now, go ahead and do that to meet the program needs, and then where the budget amendment comes through, then we can rectify whatever funds that we might have transferred from to make sure we met our ARPA obligations.
And I do want to say too, the other thought process is we haven't started expending these funds or, getting into the program. There's a chance that someone, again, maybe a portion of their project that wasn't funded that they can't pull off. There may be some residual funds that people are like, I can't move forward with this portion. I can use 2/3 of it, but I can't do. So there's potentially, we won't know, but there's potentially extra funds that trickle through that aren't able to be expended.
Sure. In the event that doesn't necessarily happen so that all the numbers line up, is it your position, Mr. Jones, that there's sort of unobligated ARPA funds somewhere else, or you're saying we pull from a different funding source, like the general fund or something?
Yeah, other funding sources, because the ARPA funds are limited. So
Right.
we would just need to make sure that we can, one, if there's ARPA dollars that are available that hadn't gotten used, that we use those would take priority. And I'm assuming that those are all used up. That's our goal, to use all of those up, because we wouldn't want to have to repay those back to the federal government if we don't have to. So we would seek to use those dollars, and then should we go above what we were allocated, then we can use general fund dollars or other funds from other accounts with similar purpose to make up those differences. And then the budget amendment would then come in later on, where we would make those adjustments before the end of the year.
Okay. And I know I've communicated with you a couple of times about how the current administration is being incredibly strict on ARPA reporting and deadlines, so we don't want to fall afoul of that in this process, but thank you.
Yes, thank you. And there was quite a bit of an email exchange starting from August 22nd, in which the mayor had a couple of questions. The city attorney was looped in, and then there was an ask that has not been answered yet. So I would like to know, where's Ward D in this? This email. It was never the email that we were talking about. The Attorney Wiggins gave her interpretation, but the question that was asked was about the program guidelines and council members making decisions on what goes into these funds. Not to these funds, but council members deciding which businesses' applications are awarded grant funds. Have we closed that out for Ward D? That was a question that was sent to you on August 22nd.
So the program guidelines were sent in an email, but the program guidelines don't specifically dictate that council will reallocate any unused funds. That was discussed during council meetings as far as what would happen if there was funds that were not used, or if all of the funds weren't awarded, that each particular council or ward, the council members in each particular ward would be consulted as far as how to redistribute those funds.
What meeting was that?
So that was it was the facade grant funding presentation. The dates.
And so here's
It's in the email response. It does state what date it was, but I do not recall right now what date that council meeting took place where it was discussed.
Yeah, I don't recall receiving a response to that question yet. And so, aside from all of that, this was sent to council on July 3rd. I just went through all of the agendas. It was never put back on the agenda after this was shared about what would be happening. I'm receiving constant contracts about awards that have not necessarily been approved by council. In addition to that, there appears that one ward, either Ward B, is going to have more money than other wards because one of the properties in A should have been in B and A is going to have less. And so like if we'd had those discussions prior to that going out, maybe we could have caught that at that time. So now we are in the position of award letters have been sent out. There was a solicitation of a person who didn't apply for remaining funds. I don't know that we did that in any of the other wards, offered those opportunities, and we had 86 applicants. And so there are a lot of questions in discussion tonight. I don't know if you all are okay with approving all of these awards that are on the spreadsheet. Again, some of them, the city's portion is over 25,000. It's upwards of 52,500 that the city would be committing. There's $32,053.01. And so, you know, I don't know if you all may want to make a decision tonight. You want to discuss this further at work session, but I mean, this is 31 different grant awards at varying levels. And yeah, a spreadsheet was sent, but there was no discussion and no action by this council. And there's been a lot of questions about this program the whole entire time we've been trying to do it. It's been a heavy lift the entire time. And so, like I said, I think I probably received 8 or 10, the total of 31, so more are coming. And before moving forward with signing, I felt there was a need to have a discussion about this and to make sure that council is okay with the awards. I don't recall, what I recall from the discussion is if you all would keep us updated and let us know if that was the situation and bring it back to council if there were, you know, money left over in this ward so that we can have the discussion as a council, because council has to make a decision as a council about these things. And so I don't feel comfortable at this point signing unless there's some action or consensus or something around council around these 31. I'm assuming these are the ones that are coming to me. And they're coming, I guess, as legal review these contracts before they come?
Yes, they legal reviewed the draft contract agreement. So they received the template, which was approved. It was reviewed and approved.
Reviewed and approved by legal?
Yes.
Let's just get ready to ask the city. Madam City Clerk, I also need a routing sheet for each one of these. So I don't have to ask the question about whether or not they've been reviewed. Councilmember.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. I just want to add a different perspective. The first perspective is the fact that in order to keep council people out of the decision-making, this was strictly an operational matter with limited council involvement, and that was to keep us at arm's length distance between awarding these funds. The next thing regarding the ward confusion, I may ask that if we as council consider the fact that the funds were put in that area to affect the facade of that area, whereas technically it is two different wards, but it's still affecting that Hetland and Deloe area, and we're trying to beautify that area, and so make it more uniform. So I ask that we consider those facts and that perspective, understanding that we were trying to really improve and shape an area, because Ward C and D's commercial breakdown in terms of facades is very different than what's happening in Ward A. And so whereas there may be a difference because the line is drawn, but before the redistricting, that probably was all one ward. And so I think in that, if we were to consider, one, we're trying to stay arm's length distance from the decision making, and two, that ward situation is one to beautify an area, then maybe this will make things a little bit more amenable for council to approve.
Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. My issue wasn't Ward A and C. What they had on the spreadsheet was a business that was on Bayard that's actually in B. So my issue wasn't the fact that it's Ward C, A and C, because they work together. Both plazas work together. So whatever enhancement on C side will enhance A side, and A side will enhance C side. So that wasn't my issue right there, because all the business work for the good of Hetland and Deloe. That's why we have an overlay district up there. My concern is every business that got awarded is downtown. It's not in the communities. They're downtown. And then one business on Bayard Street, which helps that community over there. So that's good. But where the money was awarded is only downtown. That's my concern.
Okay, I have one final thing. I agree with the comment that when we discussed this, we talked about making sure there was arm's length from as it relates to council member involvement, which is why I was surprised by Mr. Rogers' email that suggested something different, because the discussions that we've had have been about there being arm's length and not being council involvement. So I agree with that, but that surprised me. Secondly, I would like to have the spreadsheet that has all 86 applicants by ward and their scores. I think that's important to see. And again, I'm not sure how. I know we talked about allocating ARPA funds and allocating the balance of those funds, and I believe all of them were allocated to different projects or programs. So I'm not sure what that difference will be with the proper with the proper characterization or putting in the proper ward the proper businesses, and then you're still going to have a ward that will be higher than what council approved. So I do remember we had this discussion about whether it was going to be just the 4 wards or whether it be downtown plus the 4 wards and the amounts for each. So I do remember that decision and vote, which said 105 per, right? That's not going to be 105. And so, again, I'm not sure if council wants to take action and approve these tonight, so that as these contracts come through, after they've been reviewed by legal and vetted, it's my understanding one of the businesses, there might be some other legal challenges before they can move forward. I don't say one, some, because of different things, whether it be code enforcement or 50 works or any of that. So it's important that each of them have a contract routing sheet so that I can see that it's been reviewed by legal and it's okay to go through the process. If you all want to decide on that tonight, we can put it on the September 8th work session, but this is 31 grants over 600, and what do we allocate for this, $600,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I can't just go off a spreadsheet that went through emails without council action or discussion. And if we don't want to do that tonight, we can place it on the September 8th work session, but Shropshire?
I would rather put it on the work session so we can have more discussion and get all the information, what all business applied, what was the scoring, and what it looks like.
All right, any objections to this going on September 8th? I haven't heard a motion for tonight. City Clerk, if you could place this on the September 8th work session. Thank you. Next up,
Thank you.
any committee reports from either Budget and Finance Council Committee or the Council Human Resources Committee? Okay. We have no consent agenda items tonight. Agenda item, can I get a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action on the annual low-income home energy assistance program agreement?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open. Mr. Jones?
Thank you. I'll have Yolanda from our Equity, Inclusion, and Empowerment Division walk us through this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I come to you tonight to ask for your approval for the LAHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program vendor contract, authorizing the City of East Point to continue serving as a vendor in partnership with Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority. We have been a vendor for the past 4 years that I've been here, and I think we were a vendor prior to that. It's no cost to the city. We're just simply asking to continue to be a vendor during these crucial times that a lot of our seniors need the services. So we do have a great relationship with Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority, and we will ask for your permission to continue this relationship.
And if you could just share for the people watching what the LAHEAP program does or what does it provide?
Yes, ma'am. So the LAHEAP program actually provides utility assistance for residents who qualify for the services. They do have, I don't want to go into details as to what their qualifications are, but you can go to their website, Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority. They are the action authority that service this area of Fulton County. You get the services that you need. I think this award is allotted 2 times a year. Fiscal year. This is the upcoming time I believe, for the winter season for the services. And lots of our residents do get services from this.
Councilmember Butler.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make the motion that we approve the Council's decision and possible action on the annual low-income housing emergency assistance program. That we continue. Thank you.
So your motion is to approve the LAHEAP agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And your second, Councilmember Atkins?
Still stands, yes.
Discussion? Councilmember Butler, you still in?
No, ma'am.
Councilmember Atkins? Member Martin Rogers?
Yes. And the only thing I wanted to say was thank you so much for everything that you have done to assist our residents in this city through the Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Empowerment. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you as well, and I'm going to say this publicly because operationally the city manager may have to make a decision. I have not received any additional application for grants, but as we all know, it has been in the news, that the current administration is requiring cities to sign off when you get funding that you are not promoting equity in any way. And so at some point, it is operational. The office was created operationally, but we may have to go to the Office of Empowerment in order to ensure that we're not running afoul of that. I mean, the work of the office is to make sure that every resident gets what they need or has the support that they need, and that we leverage our network, relationship, resources, and influence to be able to help people. And so a lot of it is through partners. I mean, you had over 40 partners around home ownership and, you know, all of the different assistance that we provide. But I'm going to say it publicly because there hasn't been a change as of yet. Again, once that certification comes through, I mean, I know even regionally there have been challenges, and this is just a very sticky, litigious area. And so I'm putting that out there publicly. It doesn't mean that we're going to change. We're not going to continue to serve and meet the needs of our residents, but it is a very real risk as it relates to federal funding that we get awarded. We, as I mentioned previously, Senator Ossoff has been working really hard and is on appropriations to try to get us some additional congressionally directed spending funding for our water treatment center for PFAS and for our water lines and for the Bowden Center. Like, there's a lot happening. And so we just need to be aware of that, and operationally, when that decision is made, I mean, again, if I get something, we're going to really have to have a conversation, but I haven't received, to my knowledge, any recertification or certifications of grant funds. So I just want to put that on the record. Councilmember Martin Rogers.
I guess, and this question is for you, Madam Mayor. Would it be beneficial that we start having the conversation about changing the name to the Office of Empowerment now?
Well, I mean, I think, again, operationally, the office was created, whether department names, we funded them. I don't think we're changing the department. I don't think we're changing the staffing. But I'm just putting it out there because we've had discussions at the African American Mayors Association level. And again, I think we're fine. The work of serving people doesn't change regardless of what we call it. But that's a very real situation, and I see our budget director nodding. I know they're keeping me honest. I don't think I've signed any of that. Most of the stuff has been state and other type funding, but that's a very real looming situation. So there's a motion to approve the LIHEAP agreement. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Do we have any executive session items this evening, Mr.?
Yes, we do. I have 3 personnel and 1 real estate.
I have 1 personnel.
Two real estate, 4 personnel. Anything else? I think our city attorney is almost here. I'll just do 2 legal in the event, so we won't have to come back out. So that's 2 real estate, 4 personnel, and 2 legal.
So moved.
That motion, you got to say motion to recess.
A motion to recess into executive session for 4 personnel, 2 real estate, and 2 legal.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. Motion to reconvene. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. As it relates to 2680 East Point Street and 0 West Ware Avenue, need a motion to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Madam, Need a motion to authorize the city manager to investigate past and present personnel as a result of findings from the forensic audit utilizing outside resources up to and including law enforcement. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. Let the record reflect, Madam City Clerk. Is there a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Question, never mind.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Good night, East Pointers.